Hey guys, it's Tuesday after my first BWR event in Asheville, and I thought I'd give you guys a little debriefing, tell you what I thought, how the race went, all that kind of stuff. So Belgian Waffle Ride is kind of this like play on like Belgian classics, and it has this like overarching Belgian theme. There's 4 events in 2021. The first one's San Diego, North Carolina is the second, one in Utah, and then Lawrence, Kansas is the newest one. So they kind of take this idea of Belgian waffles and like spread it out over the entire kind of event. For example, if you scroll down through the race Bible, you will see they've taken all the sectors in the race and kind of given them these uniquely Belgian names. So for instance, the first climb is Walnut Cove, and they've called that Walnuchen. Another sector we're ripping around the lake is the Lachentisten. And then there is the final climb, Jeter Mountain Road climb, which is the Humpenheteberg. Anyway, so they have fun with that Belgian kind of theme throughout the whole race. You get to choose from 3 rides. You get the waffle, which is the biggest, the wafer, which is the middle, and the wana, which is the smallest ride. I did the waffle ride. It was just shy of 100 miles. They had to do some course alterations because of some weather that came in. And it started at 7 a.m. We loaded up the car on Friday, drove down to Asheville, got in a little spin.
You ready?
And then I hit the hay early, and then woke up at 4:30 in the morning. I rolled up in the dark, got dressed at the car, and had a super treacherous ride to the expo area. I left my phone in the car trying to save some weight, and because of that, I didn't have a light. It's probably the hardest part of the day for me. There was no lights or cars allowed to drive to the expo area, so I was kind of going by feel. Then I got to the expo area, had to use the bathroom first thing. Again, there were no lights. I didn't have my phone, so I had to using my Wahoo to help me take care of business this morning. I did get to eat a quarter of a waffle.
Hey, can I just have like a half of one? Can you like rip one? Or even a quarter would be great.
I will dissect for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Definitely want to check that start location address. This was called the Belgian Waffle Ride Asheville, but it was actually 45 minutes south in Hendersonville. So just make sure you got that dialed in. We had a pretty stacked field at this event. We had Ian Boswell, who had won a BWR before. Russell Finsterwald, fresh off the lead boat. He placed 3rd in San Diego. And then there was local fast guy, Dylan Johnson, and me, apparently.
Kerry Werner. Kerry lives in North Carolina as well. I want to say Kerry will be U.S. National Cyclocross Champion within the next, could be a few months, to tell you the truth.
Dave told him get the memo that I moved to Virginia, but I've updated him since then. So we kicked off at 7. Everything went pretty smooth, and there was a bit of a neutral start to kind of the first real gravel section, which was Walnut Cove. The Walnuchen, the Walnoches. I took a year off from going to Europe last year, so my Flemish is a little rusty. Everybody was kind of jockeying for positions. Nobody was really respecting the yellow line rule, including myself. Everybody kind of had that first gravel climb in their heads, so being at the front was a bit important. Anyway, Finsty got on the front and hit it pretty hard. That was like a 2.2 mile climb. I think we did it in 10 minutes, and I averaged like 393 watts, so pretty spicy little effort off the start, and that actually separated us into a group of like 10 or 15 riders right away. So we dropped off the top of it and dropped down to the lake where we had some pretty mellow gravel to rip around. All the while, there was a chase group behind us with Jeremiah Bishop and some other guys that kind of missed that first separation. It was pretty early in the day and the race. Not sure how many people were ready for that. They bridged up to us 20-25 miles in, and then we were rolling this big group of like 20 to 30 people, 25 people. Everything was really civil. There weren't really any attack. Everybody kind of knew what was coming with Pinnacle Mountain. The biggest thing once that group got bigger was just to try and be at the front on some of the gravel descents. With varying downhill abilities in the group, It made positioning a little bit more important. The big separation came when either Finsty or Dylan got on the front across Heatherly Heights. It was this like kind of gnarly Jeep road, and it kind of gradually stair-stepped its way up to the top, and it really separated our group out and trimmed that 20-man group down into this group of 11 that rolled from there into the South Carolina watershed, and then kind of worked our way over towards the base of Pinnacle Mountain. So Pinnacle Mountain was the big looming kind of climb on the day. That's when everybody thought the fireworks would go. From when it really starts climbing until the top, it's about 10 miles. But that first 5 miles is really gradual. We hit an aid station, topped up on bottles, and then kind of rolled as a group together over to the real climb. We took a right, and that's when the pressure started being applied. I actually came off the front group here. I overlapped wheels with Brennan Wirtz, the Mike's Bike guy, and almost took myself out. And then we hit a section of the climb that was a bit steeper and more sustained, and I actually came off, lost sight of the front group. Luckily, JB was on my wheel, and he had a little bit left to give, so he bridged that up, and I latched onto his rear wheel for a free ride back up to the front group. Once we reattached, it was really stair-steppy from there, so I was able to stay with the front group and go over the top with them. Right when we hit a aid station, that was the top, and then Finsty and Dylan got on the front to apply some pressure to Ian. Ian is a super strong climber, but his descending isn't as fast as some of the other guys in the group, so we knew that was his weakness, so those guys got on the front and pushed it. So we ripped down the backside of Pinnacle Mountain. Finsty broke a spoke at one point. Thought his wheel was gonna explode.
What kind of wheels are those? Yeah, get us that after this race.
You can't.
I'm just saying they haven't blown up yet. I'm impressed.
And we ripped down Sky Valley and popped out into DuPont where Ian was in sight, so our plan didn't work as well as we had hoped for. So we rolled through DuPont together. We had a lead vehicle with us that was handing us Cokes, which was super nice. I should step back and say that all throughout the race, the aides were on point. They had a lot of volunteers just handing out neutral water bottles, which was great. That means you can come to these events and not need like a staff person or a support person. You can roll solo and still either compete or just not have to worry about that kind of thing. And rolling up on the final big gravel descent, Cascade Lake Road, we dropped it and again tried to apply some pressure to Ian. I got on the front because I'd done this before and started pushing. Even knowing that road, there's a lot of corners with decreasing radius turns, and I found the limit 1 or 2 times on my tires. But we hit the bottom and had a gap, so we kept the pressure on.
All right, guys, step on it. Got a gap.
Through the rest of Cascade Lake until we popped out into the pavement. The next big thing was the Jeter Mountain road climb. And I should stop again and say, my GoPro battery died here, so everything from here on out, you're gonna have to take my word for. So we hit the pavement at the bottom of Cascade Lake and traversed over to Jeter Mountain road climb. The hump and heat the bag. We had Ian out of sight, so we thought we were dialed. Then just before we hit the climb, he latched back on and wasted no time in making us pay for putting the pressure on. As soon as we turned right onto Jeter Mountain road climb, he dropped a calm bomb. He attacked really hard. He actually got the KOM. He put 1.5 minutes into me. My effort was only good enough for 32nd overall. Yeah, 90 miles in, a 1.3 mile climb, average 10%, pitched up to 15 or 16. Those numbers felt like they were doubled. I had a bit of a crampy feeling at the bottom, so I spent a couple pedal strokes punching my legs and easing back into that effort. Dylan and Russell were just in front of me at like 15 and 20 seconds up the whole climb. I knew I had to attach to them over the top if I wanted any helped to get to the finish because it was just a really gradual downhill the whole way, 8 miles or so to the finish. Luckily, I found a little bit left in the tank, right over the top, got on their group, and then we rallied to the finish together. Russell and I had a smart move and pre-rode the finish, so I knew what was coming up, and it was very cyclocrossy. So,
all these roots. Oh, damn.
we came into the finish and I jumped around Dylan right at the last second, hit the gravel hard, and then we had a couple turns in the grass. I dropped my chain, Russell passed me, but then I got my chain back on. He let it into the last corner. I had to open up some crosses coming efforts and show him what's what there at the final sprint. So 3-up sprint for 4th place, happy with that. That was about all I could do. The guys in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd went up the Humpenheteberg a bit too fast for me, and I was content with the wide angle podium. In the venue, there was a lot of hanging out, a lot of good vibes roaming around the venue. We got some barbecue, pretty characteristic of North Carolina, Sierra Nevada beer brewed just over the hill. And we're just hanging out, swapping war stories, commiserating with each other. The course was really cool. If we turn to my major Jake here, the big things with these rides is tire selection and wheel choice. I had the Dura-Ace clinchers on, and I decided to go with the Maxxis Receptors. It's a 40C tire that has like a file tread in the center and a really small corner knob. The majority of this course was paved, so this was a really cool tire for that. My gearing was a compact crank. I had a 50-34 up front on a Dura-Ace power meter crank, and then I had a 34-11 in the back, and this is all with GRX Di2. So really happy with this bike and how this thing performed out there. I don't really think I'd change much at all. So the race happened Saturday, and then of course hanging out in Asheville. You can't not have some fun, so we popped out to Lake Julian on Sunday. I couldn't not show you guys Sherman's first paddleboard experience. When we first got on, he was a little concerned about the situation, but once he got his sea legs about him, he really wasn't natural. Anyway, so that was my first BWR race experience. I really liked it. Unfortunately, cross is coming, so I don't think I'll get to do any of the next two, but next year, these events will be on my list, and Asheville for sure, because it will be happening, same spot next year. If you have any questions or comments about the event, or my ride, or my bike, leave them in the comments below, and I'll be sure to get back to you guys. Thanks. See you next time.